Tejas, we're good to go now?
Yes, we can start.
Right. 3, 2, 1. Mr. Basin, over to you.
Okay. So friends, I welcome you to this very important, uh, it is called the Fireside Chat with a very, very eminent personality in the field of arbitration and management of arbitration. None other than Ms Catherine Dixon, who has been appointed as the Director General of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators in May 2020. Uh, she has great achievements to her credit, and one which we noticed is a unique one, that she's one of those few who's in the Guinness Books of Record for having breaking the world record of circumnavigation of the world on a tandem. And she informed us that it took her about 265 days to complete that. And out of that, those 260 days, she spent some time in India, from going from one coast to another coast through the longer route, that is along the coastline, not cutting, you see, the ground from Bombay to Kolkata, but going along the coastline. So we are indeed privileged to be, it's the first time for me to be sharing a platform with someone who holds a Guinness, you see, record and is so acknowledged by the world. So we welcome Ms. Catherine Dixon. She has taken over as the Director General of CIArb at a very important, crucial and critical times. At least speaking for India, we can say that with over 30 million litigation matters pending in different courts all over India, litigation has failed, you see, totally. It is, the system is broken, has broken down. It requires a complete overhauling. So people thought of the alternate dispute resolution, and we introduced our new law in 1996. And this law has been amended from time to time. Idea is to promote arbitration as an alternate to the litigation. But has arbitration worked in India? Has it taken off in India? And I have no hesitation in saying, you see, that arbitration has not taken off in India, primarily for the reason that we do not have good trained mediators. Our judiciary, particularly our retired judges, they have virtually monopolized arbitration in India because they think themselves to be the best arbitrators, having sound knowledge of law, with the result that the other experts are left out. So that is one reason why arbitration has become very expensive. It has become very prolonged, and still the uncertainties of judicial interventions remain, although those are now far and few, particularly keeping in view the amendments made and the provisions of Section 5 of the new Arbitration Act. So the responsibility of CIArb at this point of time, at this juncture, is how do we promote the activities of CIArb in this very important region, that is India, which has more than 1.2 million lawyers in the country. We have overtaken the United States, and so we are number one. Although this achievement will not come in the Guinness Books of Record, but at the moment we hold the record as a country having the maximum number of lawyers in the world. So, you see, for arbitration to succeed, we need to create that awareness among the people. Even our lawyers are not aware about the existence of the CIArb. And as we discussed in our board meetings recently also, and Nusrat and Tejas and Vyapak and others, they will take steps to, during the period of next 3 to 4 months, to have mass contact, at least with the legal professional and other experts besides lawyers, to create that awareness about existence of CIArb and how to strengthen the CIArb movement in India. We even propose to go to the law schools and inform the law students, particularly in senior classes, you see, in the final semesters, to make them aware about what arbitration can achieve for India, because litigation has totally failed. It is in that context, you see, that the exchanges that we have had with you very recently, that would prove very fruitful. And what we will discuss today in the fire chat, along with two very distinguished moderators, that is Mr. Tejas Karya, who has a great and unique record in the field of arbitration, who has even helped in framing of the arbitration laws. And of course, Mr. Hassan, who is co-managing partner of Link Legal, one of India's topmost law firms, and who has been selflessly serving the cause, you see, of CIArb India by devoting all time and attention, along with other very senior members of our board of directors like Mr. Kamdar, Dr. Virani, Mr. Samir Shah, Mr. Ratan Singh, and Vyapak Desai, and of course, Mr. Tejas Karya. So this has been made possible also due to the efforts of Mr. Madhvendra Singh, who is a fellow in CIArb. And I think it's a unique opportunity for all of us who are participating in this fireside chat to learn from you as to what is your mission, what is your object, and what are your guidelines for us, so that we can really make CIArb India a center of excellence so far as training of arbitrators and mediators is concerned. So I thank you on behalf of the board of CIArb India, Catherine, and now with these remarks, and I welcome you. With these remarks, I pass it on to our worthy moderators. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind welcome and the very thoughtful words. I really do appreciate the invitation to be here today.
Thank you. Tejas, Nusrat.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Bhasin. Thank you for eloquently setting the tone for today's fireside chat. Catherine, welcome again. And we have a whole lot of questions for you. Though Mr. Bhasin has let the cat out of the bag by stating your Guinness book world record, which you have accomplished. I'm not going to talk about it. I will leave that to you, because that's really interesting. I think it's fantastic for us to have a Director General who has this, I don't know whether you can call this a hobby. I'm not sure hobbies, you can make world records. but but that's quite amazing. It's both Tejas and I have a lot of questions for you. I'm going to start off with the first question. Firstly, to just set the tone again, we would like to hear in your words, your diverse background, and if you could share a few highlights of your professional and personal trajectory to sort of understand, so that our members could probably understand who our Director General is. Over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you. So, I've been very fortunate with my career in that I've been able to do a lot of diverse roles, and including some things that are perhaps not quite on a normal career trajectory, like the cycle ride that I've just done. But I left school when I was 16. So I think one of the highlights for me was being able to go back into education, and I got my law degree and then qualified as a solicitor thereafter. And I had the privilege of sort of leading my profession. So I was the chief executive of the Law Society of England and Wales, and you know, that's obviously one of the, I suppose, one of the original law societies, and has a, you know, very large membership, over 170,000 members, and I think fulfills a very sort of important role in England and Wales, but also internationally. I also spent sort of as a contrast a bit of time in the British Army. So I was a commissioned officer in the army, and I think that was a sort of a highlight of my career. My first CEO role, so I've probably been I suppose, a chief executive or director general now for around 10 years. But my first role was in the National Health Service, which is the sort of the UK has a sort of a National Health Service that kind of looks after people, and it's free at the point of delivery, and probably quite famous, really. And I ran the organisation that effectively ensured the NHS. So lots of litigation. So we had probably around 16,000 pieces of outstanding litigation. We were spending probably about 1.3 billion pounds a year settling claims, and had provisions on the balance sheet of around 56 billion for clinical negligence, which you know, was so it was quite a responsibility, I guess, you know, sorting through those claims and making sure that people had proper redress. And then I mean, before that, I was an executive director at Bupa, where I ran the M&A. So I did a lot of sort of, I suppose, M&A commercial work, and I think before that, when I was in private practice, I was a commercial litigator. So I was at Eversheds, which is quite a large firm. Sort of, I think they operate globally, but predominantly in the UK. So, but I think, you know, one of the highlights is obviously being appointed as a Director General of the Institute, and you know, though we've mentioned it before, setting the world record, which was actually announced today, and that's why I think, you know, I was talking about it earlier this morning. So you know, that was nice to have that sort of officially recognised. So as you can see, a bit of a diverse career, but very excited to be the Director General of the Institute.
No, indeed, and we are very lucky to have you on in this very special day in your life. It's a lifetime achievement to have a Guinness record. And what a diverse background you have: NHS, corporate practice, litigation, army, and then now being Director General of world's leading arbitral institution, which is into training and promoting arbitration. This by end of this month, you will be finishing 3 months as Director General, and I'm sure all these 3 months have been really exceptional and tough because of the COVID-19 pandemic and other stuff. But we have seen that you have been very, very focused, and you want to focus very quickly on all the branches. And we had a call with you, which was very fruitful. So how are you settling in your new role with this kind of diverse background? Are you enjoying it, or what kind of feeling you have with regard to this role as a Director General of CIArb UK?
No, I'm really enjoying the role. I think the team are great, and it's been fantastic meeting with all the branches and meeting the committee members and branch chairs, and of course lots of members. Though all of this has been virtual because since I've been in role, we've been pretty much in lockdown in the UK, and therefore I haven't actually visited the offices yet or actually met any of the team face to face. It's all been online. So that's been quite a challenge, really, coming into a new organisation and having to run it sort of out of my home rather than from the offices. But I think it's also been an opportunity because we're able to use these sort of platforms for meetings, and it's and I've now met with every branch chair around the world, which would have been more difficult to do if I was actually trying to travel and meet everyone. So I think using this sort of technology as and I think COVID, if it's done anything, it's kind of forced us into doing it. So I think there's been some opportunities that have come out. I mean, certainly we've, as an organisation, we've been holding webinars, and we've had over 1,800 people signing up to our mediation webinar, to the Roebuck lecture, which was delivered by Sherry Blair about international arbitration. And it's given us an opportunity for that global reach, where some of those activities would have just been, around 100 people in a hall listening to a speaker. So I think it's brought those sort of opportunities. And I think also we've been able to put all of our training online, including our assessments. So people have been able to continue to do some training, even though traditionally we would have delivered some of that training on face to face. So we're just about to go live with our virtual mediation training, which will be launched this summer. And I think I'm hoping that that will give more people the opportunity to access some of that training, which perhaps didn't have in the past. So though that said, I think it will also be nice to go back to some face-to-face meetings and to some face-to-face sort of opportunities for training as well. But I think the COVID has sort of forced us on to use technology kind of at pace, and I think we probably won't quite go back to the way it was before. It's getting the right mix, though, of course, isn't it, between that face-to-face and online.
Correct. In fact, Catherine, we ourselves at the India branch are hoping to go online with the courses, and I'm sure we'll probably have a few challenges, and we will keep learning from the experience of other branches, how they have been conducting. Yes, I think these are crazy times, as I always call it, and it's created also some unique opportunities. I think it's, as you rightly said, forced us into technology, and made us realize these team meetings and these Zoom calls can be also fairly effective. And
and people have been using online to do mediations. They've been using online to for arbitrations, and we've put out some guidance on on the sort of best practice for online, and people seem to be we're hearing about it now around the world, and people seem to be doing it fairly successfully, and and I think that is an opportunity. For some clients will perhaps not want to go down that route, but certainly we've been able to demonstrate that it works. So, given some of the concerns about backlogs in the courts, I think ADR, alternative dispute resolution, is really a sort of an opportunity, and can enable access to justice at what is a very challenging time for the world.
Correct. Yes. In fact, that prompts me to also understand, our members would love to understand in India, what is going to be CIArb's top 2-3 priorities in your when you have taken over as Director General. Are there any specific items which you have identified that with you're going to say that these are the top priorities which the Institute should look at.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm really keen that we look at immediately really is the strategy for the organisation. And we've been doing a piece of work involving the board, involving members, involving the branches to think about what the priorities for the organisation are. And these will be kind of top level priorities, but it'll give you an indication of what we think is important for the organisation. And we've got 3 which are currently in draft and still being consulted on, but I'm hope that they will resonate with you. The first one is about, and I think, you know, certainly it's been touched on already, around promoting the use of ADR. So we've called it globally promote the constructive resolution of disputes. And for me, that's about raising the profile of the use of alternative dispute resolution. That includes all forms, so mediation, arbitration, where it's appropriate, adjudication, which I appreciate is jurisdiction specific. But you know, it's about going outside our ADR community and reaching out to business and saying, you know, this is a viable alternative to going to the court. In fact, actually, you know, can be a preferred alternative to going to the court, because you know, there's an opportunity potentially to deal with it, have more control over the timelines, and deal with certainly some disputes very, very quickly. So we've got we've started a service in the UK, which we're trialing in the UK, which is focused on dealing with disputes arising from the pandemic. And it's all online. It uses either facilitated renegotiation of contracts, so like a facilitated contract renegotiation, mediation, or fast track arbitration. And it's fixed cost, online, and we're promoting that to business to say, you know, if you've got disputes coming out of the pandemic and when really people need to be focused about getting back to work, then we can deal with your dispute quickly. And that's the sort of thing that we could potentially trial in India as well, to see if that could work. But you know, the promotion piece is about raising awareness and actually reaching out to business, reaching out to people who perhaps are less aware of ADR, who then will sort of think about it in the event that they have some sort of conflict or dispute. The next area we're looking at, so the next sort of draft strategic aim, is we've called it inclusive global thought leader, and that's really putting you know, changes and developments in ADR at the forefront, and you know, thinking about the use of technology, innovation, thinking about things like access to justice and rule of law, and professional standards, and how we can make sure the professional standards are really sort of at the forefront of changing practice, and how we can then get that out to our members, so that our members are really on the front foot and they're aware of these sort of changes that are happening around the world and can take advantage of them and think about the impact of them in their practice. So, you know, we've been doing a series of things like podcasts, you know, talking about best practice. We'll do more webinars. We're thinking about workshop style, you know, bite-sized pieces of training, which might be around advocacy or, you know, case management and various other bits and pieces that, you know, will be much more accessible to members to do, to really get them the sort of practice at the forefront of you know, some of these changes we're seeing, you know, through technology, but also through sort of best practice around the world. The next strategic aim, it's really all about members, and it's about supporting members. And we've said develop and support an inclusive global community of diverse dispute resolvers. And for me, that's about supporting members in their practice, supporting them through their career development, so that, you know, thinking about young members and encouraging younger members to join, and thinking about equality, diversity and inclusion, and how that fits within the organisation and how we can support it. and that'll look differently depending on where we are in the world. Because there'll be different issues around equality, diversity, and inclusion, depending on where we are, and also thinking about how we can support and engage more with our branches. And that's really important that we have that two-way dialogue and work together.
Yeah, that's very helpful, because the way you say that the use of ADI in all forms, because what we understood CIArb is only focusing on arbitration, but mediation is also going to be next big thing in world, especially in India, because we have to have mediation as one of the main modes of dispute resolution. And also thought leadership, which will go a long way in promoting the arbitration, because we need to create the global leaders with the thought leadership. And if I can ask you further on this strategic planning for the creating global dispute resolvers. So that is something is quite interesting for us, and especially for members in India, how CIArb can help them to promote their career, or what is the strategic planning which you are thinking about? Because we all become members of CIArb, but somewhere we also have to find value of becoming a member. And I'm sure the strategic planning which you're talking about is really going to help each and every one of us. So if you can throw some more light about that, it will be really helpful for us.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, I think there's a number of things that, as if you're a member of any organization, you want to know, well, what do I get for my membership? And, I think CIArb offers quite a lot. I don't think it always explains it that well to the members. So I think there's a piece about that. It's a piece about giving access to really relevant information, really relevant training and development, and that's obviously through the journey of getting the sort of post-nominals, but I think also training that is about CPD and best practice, the sort of workshops that we can do, supporting people through their careers. So we're looking at things like virtual internments. We're looking at how we can support diversity. So for example, supporting younger women arbitrators, through their career. We're also looking at the sort of member type offers that we can maybe develop, like making sure people have got access to insurance for their practice. So there will be a kind of a developed member offer that will be really clear about what it is that you do get for your money, and I think that's really important. But I think if that part of being part of that global community, I think is also about bringing everybody together, and we can use technology to do that. So for example, we're just about to link all the branches together using MS Teams, which will mean that the branches will be able to communicate and engage with each other. So if India wants to engage with somebody in Brazil, then they can, or somebody in London, or wherever around the world that we have people, and we have members now in over 150 countries. And I think the other critical thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that where there are panels around the world which recognize, be it arbitrators or mediators or indeed adjudicators, then CIArb training and is recognized by those panels, so that our members get access to those panels as a matter of course. And we're currently just doing an exercise where we're contacting panels around the world and making sure that those panels sort of recognize the CIArb training as the sort of high standard. And then we'll be able to say that if you've got this level of training with CIArb, then it will give you access to X number of panels around the world. Now, obviously, that doesn't necessarily guarantee an appointment, so we need to again do some work around supporting people to get their first appointment, and that can be things like networking events, but it can also be like workshops about the sort of things you need to be thinking about to get an appointment. And those are the things that we want to do really to support members. I mean, there's obviously more than that, but those are the kind of initial thoughts about what we can do. And I think there's a lot of it's there. It just needs sort of developing and really getting out so that members can take advantage of it.
Catherine, these are great ideas. I mean, I think it sounds very exciting, and I think I'm sure the members are going to get a lot of benefit across the world. Do you have anything specific? Are you looking for anything specific results insofar as CIArb India is concerned, the India branch? Are there any thoughts at the headquarters for the India? India's, you've seen India, you know how diverse it can be.
I mean, India it's such an opportunity, India. And I mean, certainly one of the things that we want to do is really sort of encourage more student members to join. And there's a bit of an initiative where we can reach out to the universities in India to encourage student members. We've got quite a growing student membership, and we've done a number of sort of offers around our introductory courses and things, during the pandemic to, make it much more affordable for people to do that training online and then join the organization. So that's certainly something that we can do, because I think, it's important that younger people are joining and getting involved. But I think there's more we can do as well around mediation. And obviously there's pretty strong possibilities, I understand it, that mediation may be kind of mandated in India as part of the litigation process. So I think the virtual mediation training and offering mediation training within India is also a real opportunity for us. But on all of those things said, I think it's also, really important to hear from the branch. So if you've got ideas, possibly we were talking about the business dispute resolution service that we put in place in the UK, that we're trialing in the UK. If we can do those sort of things in India and trial those sort of things to raise the profile of ADR, and we can do that working closely with the branch, because you will know the sort of organizations we need to contact to engage with business, for example, then that I'd be really interested in doing those sort of joint pieces of work with you. And do let us know the sort of things that you'd be interested in doing, and we can look at how we can support it. I think also with India, we probably just need to think about the different sort of big major cities and how we can reach out, because I don't think we've got much in Calcutta, for example, and there may be some opportunities in different cities, and thinking about how we can kind of really spread the word across India. And I just think it's a massive opportunity, and we need to sort of think through that sort of strategic plan for India, really.
No. Right, thank you. Before Tejas can ask the next question, just to inform you, Catherine, we've already initiated a substantial amount of work on the student side, and getting some very good traction. And I think Mr. Kamdar and Samir Shah are taking forward the initiative with other board members. So that's a very exciting thing. Tejas, over to you.
And before we move on, if any participant has any question, for Catherine, we have got a great opportunity to directly ask CIArb Director General, which is a great opportunity for all of us to interact. So please use the tab below of Q&A or chat. And as you go along, you may please type the questions, so that at the end of our session, we will definitely take up your questions and ask Catherine if he has any thoughts on those questions. And as Nusrat rightly said, we have tremendous opportunity given the number of students which are passing out every year from different law schools. It could be a huge number, and now we have got this whole specialization in arbitration and in mediation, which is also a good development where people not don't want to mix up their career with litigation and they want to specialize only in arbitration. So Catherine, you mentioned a lot about online courses and going online. So now we have also started having virtual hearings for arbitration and mediation. So what is your thought about adopting technology and how best we can use technology for using it for arbitration, even post-COVID era, in the sense now, of course, we are compelled to do it, but how technology can change in terms of saving time and cost and having the best talent available to resolve the dispute, and how CIArb is looking to help in that going forward.
Mm. Well, I mean, I think we've touched upon some of the things that we're using technology already. We've mentioned all of our courses are now virtual. All of the assessments are now virtual. It gives us much more sort of flexibility about how those courses are delivered. Though I do think there's nothing quite like face-to-face training, for certain things. So I think we need to probably, going forward, adopt a more blended approach to a mixture between online and face-to-face where that's possible. And obviously we're seeing, as we mentioned, that we are seeing virtual hearings, we're seeing virtual arbitrations, we're seeing virtual mediations. And the feedback that they're being done successfully, and I think there'll probably be a lot of learning coming from that. And I do think that though when we finally get out of this sort of terrible pandemic, there will be a move back to face-to-face. I think that there will still be the opportunity to do things online, and obviously it can be more cost effective, particularly when there's lots of traveling involved. It can save time as well. Again, because it's online, things tend to be a little bit shorter actually online than they would be if there were a face-to-face hearing. So I think it's about really taking the best and learning the lessons from the pandemic and then sort of applying that to the future. But I think, also within the organization, there's quite a lot that we need to do to improve our technology. So there's a lot we need to do around improving the access of information on our website. There's a lot of information on our website, but it sometimes be quite difficult to find. And, and if you do a search on it over the search engines, you might not find it. And so making it much more sort of higher profile and accessible to people is going to be key, and we need to use technology to do that. And we also have some internal systems. One of them is called a CRM, which is a sort of a customer relationship management system. And that needs to be much better at, so if you remember and you make an inquiry about something, then it needs to be much better at sort of giving you the right information back. And so, thinking about that kind of member journey and enabling people to join much more easily, access courses much more easily. And so we need to get, we need to use technology to get what we'd call our own house in order around, making sure that members can access the right information and quickly. And so there's quite a lot of work going on to do that. And we've made some improvements, but it will take us a little bit more time to get all of that right, because it's, it's quite a big job of work that we need to do in some of those areas.
Right. Catherine, we heard you speak about diversity, and that's comforting for us. I think it's very important for all of us to underline those thoughts. But do you see CIArb taking any leadership role in advancing diversity in the ADR process?
Yes, I'd like to see it take that's for sure. And, you know, we're putting together a sort of an EDI strategy, you know, the way that we need to approach EDI. You know, there's obviously been a lot of concerns arising from the death of George Floyd in the States. You know, we made a statement about, you know, the sort of terrible nature of racism. But I think, you know, diversity is much broader than that. You know, it is gender, it is race, it's, you know, it's really, for me, it's about enabling, you know, anybody irrespective of their background to be successful. So, you know, there's some issues in there around what we call social mobility, around you know, enabling the best to join irrespective of where they may come from, you know, be it their you know, level of wealth or whatever it may be. And so we're thinking about the sort of activities that we can do to support that, you know, particularly with younger members coming through, you know, workshops for younger members, virtual internments, supporting their career development, possibly even a hardship fund based on you know, on EDI sort of criteria, thinking about mentorship for those younger people coming through, if we can get people to mentor them and support them through their career, and just giving a message that, you know, that everybody has sort of equal, you know, equal opportunities, you know, to develop a career, you know, in ADR. And, you know, we will look at how we can support that. And, you know, so it's really important that we get that message right from all of us. And, you know, we're very sort of welcoming and supporting of you know, of people coming through.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine. Those are very comforting words. And from the India branch, if I may speak on behalf of it, we would be very keen to cooperate and mirror some of those activities in the India branch too. So we look forward to working with you on that.
Well, I think, you know, some of the work you've been doing around the student initiative's been fabulous, and then thinking about how we can support those students develop their career, you know, maybe offering some mentorship to them and various other things that we can perhaps support them with to, you know, I think that will be a really great sort of initiative to work on together.
Thank you.
Sure, because in India, within India itself, there is so much of diversity in terms of culture and all. You would have seen while you bicycled across India. And
Yes.
one more aspect also is gender diversity, because we are not seeing that many female arbitrators or mediators. Of course, in mediation, it's a great scope, gender diversity, but I think CIArb is doing great job in promoting that kind of diversity as well. But if we were to talk about the future plans, and you talked about very promising future plans for CIArb globally as well as for India. So what are certain parameters to track the success of this? So do you have some tangible goals in mind where we can see that we have the vision and a mission for achieving those plans? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's a sort of a bit of a thing in management where, you know, where that you say, you know, what you measure gets done. And I think there's some truth in that. So I think there's lots of ways you can measure success. Some of those are more external measures and some are internal measures. So what we will do internally is we'll have you know, some key performance indicators around some certain, you know, but it might be member numbers, it might be the number of courses we're delivering, it might be sort of feedback in relation to those courses. We'll certainly look at that. We'll also look at external measures. So there's lots of analytics now you can get through websites, you can get through social media, you can see the impact that you're having when you use social media, and there's lots of measures around, you know, the sort of clout scores and, you know, various other sort of pieces that you can use. But I think importantly, it's also critical that we actually ask our members what they think, and you can do that in a number of different ways. I quite like focus groups and to get views, because I think that can be really helpful, sitting down with a group of members and just getting feedback. And to a certain extent, you know, we're doing that with some of the interactions that we're having with the branches, though they're not quite focus groups, but we'll need to sort of think about that. And we can also sort of survey our members and see, you know, what's important to them. Because I think, you know, when we're developing new things, it's not necessarily about, you know, it's not what I want to do or what the team at London want to do. It's about what the members want. And in order to establish what it is they want, we have to talk to them and get their views. And then we can make sure that we're responding to those needs. And that's what I'm keen to do as well. So we'll have a range of different ways of measuring success, but, you know, part of the strategy will be about measuring impact. So if we've got those 3 strategic goals that I've talked about, then, you know, we'll as time goes on, you know, we'll say, well, what have we achieved in relation to those goals? You know, what's the impact of the strategy been, and we'll look at how we can publish that to members so they can see how we're getting on.
Right. Thank you, Catherine. I think one of the things with, you know, in a last chat when we had with you, one of the things that did come out was mediation, and we were the CIArb India. What do you think CIArb India's role could be in promoting ADR versus you know, litigation? And traditionally, in this country, India, we've been have litigation as a default rather than as a choice. So how do you make what do you think how CIArb can evolve in that direction in India?
Well, I think it's probably, you know, if I can take sort of what you know, because obviously there'll be some nuances in India which I'm sure you're more familiar with than me. But I think, you know, it's a question of identifying some of the key stakeholders that you probably need to speak to, and that may be government, it may be the judiciary, but it may also be some of the important business member organizations that we might want to sort of approach and say, you know, actually there's some awareness raising, some training that we can do with prominent business leaders or with business to, you know, explain the alternative to going to litigation or using the courts, and so that they can see the value of that and really try and start getting the word out in that way. Because I think, you know, I mean, we're all converts, aren't we? We all know about the benefits of using ADR. And so just reaching out to our own community and saying, you know, ADR is great. We kind of know that because we're all practitioners. I mean, I'm a mediator by background. But I think that, you know, that we need to sort of reach out to a broader community of people who could benefit through using ADR and raise the profile of it. And I think that's why I mentioned the service that we're trying in the UK around, you know, some of the disputes coming out of the pandemic, and seeing if we could maybe do a similar scheme in India, a similar service in India, which would mean promoting that to business. And we need to sort of create a panel of people who could, you know, do the fast track arbitration, do the mediation, you know, or help, you know, do a facilitated contract renegotiation. And that sort of thing, if we promote that to business membership organizations and say, look, this is a real benefit to your member, you know, who may be in a dispute, which could be very costly, it could be very, you know, time intensive, you know, and there's a big maybe concern at the courts because there's a backlog, and, you know, and actually, you know, what the business needs to be doing is focusing on getting back to work after the pandemic and thinking about its cash flow and all of those things that businesses need to think about. But it's got this dispute, which is a distraction. And, you know, actually here is an opportunity to get this issue resolved within, you know, we're saying within sort of 90 days. And, you know, at a fixed cost. And it's done and it's dusted. And I think the other benefit is that the businesses involved can actually maintain the relationship with each other. Whereas if you end up in litigation, I think it's very difficult to, have an ongoing business relationship if you're suing each other, and it is much more difficult than perhaps trying to deal with the issue earlier through ADR.
Definitely more expensive.
Yeah, definitely more expensive.
Correct.
So, Catherine, we have a very bright and energetic young members group of CIArb India, and they are quite energetic and they want to do many things to promote arbitration in India. They are our young members of CIArb. So, what is the message for them, and how important they are for the entire CIArb community? Because I'm sure you have the young members program in CIArb, and all of us are quite aware of it, but something from your side would be really nice to hear.
Well, I mean, I think, young members are the future. And, I'm really keen that we develop a really sort of bright, vibrant global community of younger members. And we're looking at opportunities to support them through their career. I've mentioned some of the things that we're looking to do, but certainly, we're thinking about mentorship schemes, we're thinking about virtual interments, we're thinking about kind of workshops for younger members around getting their first appointment, maybe some advocacy skills, case management skills, various things that will really help them with their career, as well as obviously going through the our sort of traditional module training and getting the post nominals, which will enable them to have those extra letters after their name, which are recognized around the world. So I also think it's really important for for them to get together for networking events, maybe young members conferences, so that they can actually share knowledge between themselves and share best practice, share their experiences, support each other, as they're developing their career, and build those relationships really for the future. So I think it's also about them getting together. And, I think younger people are, in some ways much more comfortable than perhaps, slightly older generation around, building communities online. And I think that, there's ever more opportunities to do that and be part of a global organization. So, it's not just necessarily about reaching out to another member in India. It could be somebody in Singapore, it could be somebody in the Americas, it could be, somewhere, anywhere around the world, really, and building some of those relationships and their careers accordingly. So I think there's a lot more to be done, and we're really thinking about what that younger member offer is and what it looks like and how we can support it. But we also want them to sort of engage with us so that we can support them doing what they want to do, which I think is important.
Sure. They will work very closely with the headquarters, I'm sure.
We spoke a lot about students and the optimism as far as the institute is concerned. Catherine, is there any message you would like to convey to the students today?
Well, I think I'd like to say, obviously, get involved. Do the online training. There's an offer. It's we've really reduced the cost of it, and access to it now is all online, and so you can become an associate member of the organization. It's free to join as a student, but you can also do the training at a relatively low cost, which will really enhance your career because you've got extra letters after your name. So there's an opportunity to sort of do it now. We're also thinking about that piece from when you leave as a student and you've got a period where you're probably not necessarily qualified yet, but you're working, but you're doing your sort of on the job learning and training, and we're thinking about how we can support people through that period as well, and the cost of that, and what we can offer to those young professionals who are just reaching to the point where they're qualifying in their recognized field, and we're giving a bit more thought to that. So we're just sort of thinking about what we call the life journey of a member, all the way from student to perhaps retirement, and how we can kind of support people through that journey. And obviously, they'll need different things at different times. But, certainly for the younger members, it's all about their career development. It's about supporting them in their practice. It's about enabling them to network and meet other people. It's probably mentorship. It's the specific sort of workshops that are focused on them, and also about getting the letters after their name and being recognized as a global ADR practitioner.
Thank you. Those are very good suggestions.
Yeah, because every member has something to gain at every stage of their life. So that CIArb has to offer something or the other. So that's quite good to know. But having said that, what are your expectations from CIArb India? Like what is that we can do to help CIArb headquarters, and what all is that you expect us to do?
So I think there's massive opportunity, and when we talked about it in India, and I think it's critical that we work together with the sort of HQ and the branch. I mean, obviously the branch will be thinking about what it's going to deliver for next year and putting together its sort of budget planning and all of those sort of things. There's massive opportunity for the branch delivering training, be it sort of virtually or perhaps even moving towards face-to-face, hopefully once we come out of the other side of the pandemic, or we get a vaccine, or but hopefully we'll get to a point where we can perhaps do some face-to-face, and those networking events, those branch events, that having maybe even regular webinars through the branch, we can support all of that. But I think it's great that if the branch can lead some of those initiatives in country, and we can look at how we can support them through perhaps faculty from outside of India where that's appropriate, and various other things. I think if you think about what you want to do, then we can look at how we can support you in doing it, and what tools that we can bring to enable you to do it. But I think as well, maybe reaching out to government and judiciary and some of these business organizations, and knowing that I'm sure you've got the kind of contacts in India, and thinking about how we can support you in doing that through some of our policy work and things, I think will also be really important as well.
Right. Thank you, Catherine. I think we have many questions, but we have now many questions in the chat box. So we're going to, Tejas and I are going to stop asking the questions, and we're going to go over to the chat box questions for you. And okay. I think it'd be fair with many of them have quite a few questions up there. So one, I think just before you joined, I think it was last year, in fact, this year, there was a batch of 9 mediators. Anita Sahani is asking, we were a batch of 9 mediators who had trained at CIArb in London in June 2020. And I think it will be 2019, I guess. We are looking forward to be shadow trainers at the next online training of mediation by CIArb. I hope that's possible.
Yeah, we're looking at launching the sort of virtual mediation training later this summer. And we are also training and expanding our faculty around the world. So that will, that's about enabling people to shadow some of that training. So I'm hoping there'll be possibilities for that. Our Director of Education and Training, Parish, who I know you've all met, will certainly be able to help with some of the specifics of that if there's people that you want to get involved with that. So please do maybe contact me, and we can make sure that we make sure that you've got some shadow training if for people who can help facilitate and run those events.
Yeah, another question we have is it mandatory to have arbitration background for making an application to become a member of CIArb? So everybody is asking this question, and of course the answer is simple, but we would like to hear from you. Is that does it require any background in arbitration?
No, I mean, you can work your way through the modules without having a background in ADR at all. You know, you can start with an introductory course and you can build up your skills. But we also have different pathways for, well, obviously for arbitration, but also for mediation and adjudication. So, so if you know, if you wanted to come and develop your mediation skills, you've got no background in arbitration, then you could certainly do that through the organization. But likewise, if you hadn't any background in arbitration and you wanted to develop those skills, then you could start at the beginning, work your way through the courses, and you know, end up as a fellow of the organization with, you know, with those skills. So depending on what you want to do, you know, that there's various options open to you, but certainly you don't have to come with a background in arbitration.
Correct. Catherine, I think this is a question from one of the younger members, and I think they ask about the mentoring program. Can CIArb come up with some mentoring program covering the practical experience of practitioners with young budding individuals? I think that's a very interesting question, I think.
Yeah, we're looking at whether we can develop. I mean, the challenge with mentoring is actually getting it's not so much getting the mentees, it's getting the mentors, and it's getting people to sort of commit to the time of doing it. But certainly, we're certainly looking to do that. But the other thing that we are looking to do, hopefully fairly shortly, is a virtual internment piece where younger members will be able to go online, do a number of sort of scenarios and case studies and work throughs, which will enable them to come out with you know, experience that they can put on their CVs around, you know, having that sort of virtual internment experience. So that's something else that we're looking to do. So there's a number of things that we're trying to develop really at the moment for younger members, and those were a couple of them. We're also thinking about the sort of workshops which will be relevant to you know, people starting out in practice, and how we can support them with things like advocacy skills and various other pieces. So that's an ongoing piece of work that we're you know, that's really sort of coming together at the moment for what will be a kind of a younger member offer, but goes to that point about that supporting people all the way through their careers, and that's what we're aiming to do. So so it's not, the mentorship scheme is not there yet, but we're looking at, you know, how we can develop it.
That'd be very interesting.
Some of the participants want to know how important it is to have a qualification from CIArb, and would it help in getting an appointment as an arbitrator, because they're referring to Dr. Bhasin's opening speech saying that it is dominated by judges and we should have the professionals. So if we have the professionals, would having CIArb qualification or accreditation would really help, and how can they be differentiated from the other lot who doesn't have this qualification?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it does differentiate an individual. And it's clear that, you know, we were talking about that recognition of panels around the world. So certainly the qualification is recognized around the world. We want it to be recognized in even more panels, and we're just doing that exercise at the moment. But certainly it does differentiate. You know, if you've got that qualification, if you've got those letters after your name, it differentiates you from somebody who hasn't. But it also gives you that confidence and those skills to, you know, to be you know, much more competent at you know, whatever it is you want to do, be it mediation or arbitration. So I think that's sort of important in practice as well.
You're on mute, Nusrat.
Catherine, on the diversity, we have a direct question from a person from Pratik Datta pertaining to diversification of arbitrator. Is there any opportunities for transgenders?
As far as I'm concerned, then yes. I mean, I'm a trustee of an organisation that supports sort of LGBT, including the obviously the T being the sort of transgender, and I would like to think that there's opportunities for everyone, irrespective of their background, and I certainly wouldn't. I wouldn't sort of discriminate against them in any way, and I'd hope that that we can create a world where that is the case. Though I know it can be very, very challenging for transgender people. But we need to support best practice, and best practice would be enabling them to progress in their careers the same as everybody else. Enabling the best to join, irrespective of their background.
Right.
There are also some questions with regard to the old pathway and new pathway. So there, of course, this is with regard to training, but they want some clarity about how, if they finish some courses in old pathway, how can they continue with the new pathway, or when they can become fellow if they've become the members already.
Yeah. Well, I think what we're trying to do so at the moment, what we're trying to do is we're trying to give much more flexibility to branches about how they deliver their training. So what we did in the past was we had a very kind of quite prescribed way of training, with a set of materials, and it was sort of saying it's one size fits all, irrespective of the jurisdiction that you might be in, and what we're trying to move towards is a set of competency, what we call a competency framework, where there's a set of outcomes, and provided you get to those learning outcomes, then there's flexibility about how you deliver the training, which means that branches and different jurisdictions will be able to take into account the background and the training of the people that they're training when they deliver that training, because obviously we don't all train the same way, depending on the profession that we're from, but also depending on the jurisdiction that we're in. And so what we're saying is, providing everybody gets over the same hurdle or hits the same level, then that there can be flexibility about how that training is delivered. And so you can use the materials that we produce in London, or you can adapt those materials specifically for your jurisdiction and deliver, and we trust our faculty, because our faculty, the people that are delivering the training, really experienced practitioners, and they're going to know very well in the jurisdiction what's important, how that training should be delivered. So in terms of those pathways, we're trying to simplify those pathways. We're trying to make the training more flexible. And so, so people can progress through those pathways. But if there's a specific question about, you've done one course and, should you move on to do the next? I think the best thing would be to do is to maybe email me, and I can look at the specific set of circumstances and give you an answer.
Yes, thank you, Catherine. I think there are several questions, but we are running out of time, and I would like to hand over the mic to now Madhvendra Singh for his closing remarks. Madhvendra, over to you.
Thank you, Nusrat. Thank you. So thank you, everyone, and a very good afternoon. Thank you, CIArb India, for this opportunity. And specifically, I would want to thank Catherine. It's been a very hectic day for you. Thank you so much for really taking out time for this interaction and addressing the CIArb India branch as well. And I also take this opportunity to congratulate you once again on your world record. I wouldn't have expected anything less, knowing that you come from a military background.
There we are. There's the certificate.
I was just going to tell you to kindly put that.
I also thank Mr. Bhasin, who is the chairman of CIArb India, for having taken the time out and welcoming the new Director General to her maiden interaction with the CIArb India branch. I also thank my co-hosts, Nusrat, who is the secretary, and Tejas, who is the director of CIArb India, for this meaningful interaction and making it very lively. I would not like to miss this opportunity to also acknowledge the good efforts of dear friend Anthony Abrams, who is the immediate ex-Director General as well. So Chartered Institute of Arbitrators has really been the flag bearer of arbitration training in the world. And to me, it is very heartening to see how all the members of CIArb globally are really connecting with each other, and how proudly they really display this affiliation on the social platforms like LinkedIn. It's very, I'm very glad to also see that CIArb, how we have been able to keep pace with the changing times. We have adopted technology very quickly. We have improvised our learning pathways. And as Catherine just mentioned, also we already have a 3-point, you've crafted a well 3-point agenda for the near future. And also, as I see, and as all of us see, that most of us are moving to online dispute resolution, as well as conducting of virtual hearings, although I don't like to call it virtual hearings, online hearings. And you have CIArb has already come out with the guidelines for conduct of such online hearings as well. Now is also the time for collaborations and meaningful partnerships, mainly in terms of what I feel the two important aspects for this particular agenda would be that one is that we have a standard training pattern. We would mitigate the differentials in the understanding of various ADR, the law of arbitration and mediation. And also, like a lot of people keep asking me, how to do it. So that chore of finding the meaningful training program for becoming an arbitrator, I think CIArb is the answer to that. And of late also, I see a whole galaxy of these platforms emerging who are doing these trainings in international commercial arbitration and in ODR. But I also fear the quality that they're giving is something to really be a very big concern for me, at least. So like Nusrat has said, at CIArb India already have plans, an outreach program to basically interact with all the students who are doing their law training, also the ones who are experts in this field. Because especially in India, there is a big ecosystem for small value disputes. And like Mr. Bhasin mentioned in the opening remarks also, there is a monopoly. So it's not easy to get judges and very highly qualified senior advocates to take up those kind of matters. So now the arbitrators who are being appointed in those small value matters really must know the nuances of the procedural nuances of conducting an arbitration. That's where I think CIArb India would play a major role. And with this kind of going online, it's beautiful to also see how everyone can easily access these programs from the ease of their homes, which was earlier difficult due to traveling, impediments and others. But also the kind of strategic planning program that you have, and with a specific student focus and being executed from the headquarters in London, I think they cannot bring unprecedented benefits for the training of arbitration in the whole of world. See, very personally, I feel that ADR is a skill set for life, not just for the businesses, but also for the individuals. And if you ask me personally, I have immensely benefited from being an FCIArb roles in the military. And I am laying a great emphasis on doing this kind of trainings in the military. Catherine, with your immense experience in the mediation and having worked with the NHS and also in India, with the Commercial Courts Act having amended, mediation has become necessary pre-arbitration mediation has to be done, especially for the commercial disputes. So I think now is the time that CIArb should think about mediation training as well. And with the outreach program that CIArb India has crafted, I think we are in for a very good programs for the mediation as well. I particularly picked up on your comment you made about diversity, because there is one aspect which is very close to my heart. And you have also supported George Floyd, and you're also a trustee of institution that promotes LGBT. So you are the right person, I think, in the helm of affairs. And also, I have felt for a good amount of time that women are subjected to the Pareto's principle. I mean, I feel that they do 80% of the world's work, but they only get remunerated with 20% of it. So like Sheryl Sandberg has also said in her book, like women are not really thinking of achieving it big. They're really fearful of losing it all. So I think that's, we should always keep in mind. And also from this Q&A session, I gathered that there are some people who are still in the old pathways or looking to the new pathways. And also mostly I have seen people who want to associate and become members of CIArb. One question on their mind is, will I get appointed as an arbitrator? So I think if that becomes one focus of our endeavors, probably we'll have better results. So I think under your able leadership and also the chairmanship of Mr. Bhasin, I think CIArb India is headed for good times. And the only thing which is left for me to do now is to once again thank you. Thank you, Catherine, for your time. And we are really excited to work with you. We wish you Godspeed, especially in these tumultuous times. We look forward to also hosting you in India whenever it is, whenever the time permits. And a very big thank you to all the participants and everyone. Take good care of yourself and your health, and all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Mr. Bhasin, for introducing, and thank you for the panel for your eloquent questions. I've really enjoyed speaking today, and look forward to working with the India branch and all of the members in India. So it's really exciting times, and really sort of welcome a regular conversation and dialogue with you. So thank you again for inviting me today.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Tejas.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Catherine. Good day.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.